Hello again to all you CRSN 151 students or to anybody else who may be using this video for reference. This video is going to cover the Revolve boss base and the Revolve cut tool. And it's another 3D feature in SolidWorks that you can use to make extrusions or to make circular features. And what I mean by that is with extrude boss base, which we've gone over a lot, you're taking your sketch and you extrude it out linearly. And if you've seen the video, the swept boss base tool takes a sketch and extrudes it along a path you define. The Revolve boss base tool is similar. It's taking a sketch, but it's going to rotate that sketch around an axis. So if you ever took a calculus class that had you do revolving around the solid or any of that other fun stuff, that's visually and mathematically sort of what SolidWorks is doing to create that solid body. So let me show you two ways you can utilize this tool. I have here on the screen a simple cylinder, and I'm going to add a little rotational feature around it to give you an idea of what the tool can be used for. And as with most tools in SolidWorks, when you create a feature, you're going to need the sketch that you're going to bring into the third dimension, and then you need some geometric reference that tells SolidWorks what to do with that sketch. So I haven't made the sketch yet, but in the case of the Revolve tool, you need to add an axis that your sketch is going to revolve around in the future. So I'm going to do that really quickly. And we have a video that covers reference geometry, so I'm just going to speed through this. It's pretty simple. You go into the Features tab, you select Reference Geometry, which is right here. Let me turn on which is right here, and you go down to axis. And then for a cylinder, it's very simple. You simply click the face of the cylinder that's going to define the axis, and you click the green checkbox, and there you go. You have an axis. And that axis will show up on the feature tree if you need to edit it later. So now we're going to make a sketch. And you'll see a few tricks I'm doing here. Because I'm going to revolve the nub around this axis defined by the cylinder, whatever sketch I do has to be bisecting the cylinder. So when I made the cylinder, I set it up so that this top plane here is perfectly bisecting it. And that was purely for the purpose of an example. Depending on how you need to use this tool in the future, you might have to do something different. But the idea is you're going to need to sketch on a plane that the axis is traveling through. You'll also see that when I plan to sketch on this plane and I go normal to it, well, that's not quite what I wanted. So SolidWorks keeps track of this as a three-dimensional cylinder, but remember, we're going to make a sketch and we're pretending that this is a two-dimensional canvas. So you have to try and pretend that this is a flat surface you're sketching on, and that flat surface happens to bisect the cylinder. So it's a little bit of a trick of the eye, but try to remember that. So I'm going to enter my sketch, and all I'm going to do is make a simple circle at the midpoint. And this is, again, purely an example. Fully dimension it, set a good example, exit the sketch. And now you'll see that this circle, the sketch I just made is sort of floating in 2D space. It's intersecting the cylinder. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the Features tab, select Revolve Boss Base, and then I'm going to select the axis of revolution, which is this axis I just selected here. And you see what happens? SolidWorks is going to take that circle and rotate it all around the axis to create that 3D feature. There's a few other things you can do in the dialog box for the Revolve Boss tool. Other than selecting the axis, you can also decrease the number of degrees at which the rotation occurs. So that means you don't have to go all the way around. You can go only part way around, and then let me show you what that means. So now I'm going to decrease it. And you can see that I went from 360 degrees to 330 degrees revolving, so it leaves a little notch there. You can also use this icon here to switch which direction you're going from. And you can also add a second direction. It's very much the same set of tools as an extrusion, except this is extruding in a rotational way, not in a linear way. So go ahead and hit the checkbox, and you can see there that you now have this circular extrusion that goes around the cylinder. So I'm going to delete that really quickly. And in addition to the Revolve boss base tool, which is up here, I'm highlighting it now, there's also the Revolve cut tool. And it's essentially the exact same tool, except it's the Boolean opposite of adding material. It's deducting material. So let me show you what that looks like. See, it works in exactly the same way, except it takes material away as opposed to adding it. Wow. So that's one way to use the cut or the boss revolve tool, is by setting up a sketch and then revolving that sketch around an axis. But you can also go directly from a sketch without adding an axis. Let me show you what that looks like. So I'm going to open up a separate part, and I'm just going to sketch arbitrarily on the front plane. I'm going to go ahead and make a random, I'm going to make a cross section of the cylindrical object I want. So what that means is the revolve tool is going to take a section of my sketch, and then I can select an axis to revolve it around. So if I wanted something that was, say, water bottle shaped, I could make half of the water bottle and then revolve it around to make the full water bottle. And if that sounds a little bit confusing, don't worry, I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So just keep in mind that this line I sketched here is going to turn into the axis of rotation. I'm just going to make some weird arbitrary shape. I'm not going to worry about dimensioning it. So this area inside, this enclosed shape that I've created, is going to be the shape that I revolve, and I'm going to revolve around this axis here, which I'm now highlighting. Let me show you what that looks like. While you're still in the sketch, you can go to the Features tab, and you can click on Revolve Boss Base. And then when you select axis of revolution, you just want to select that axis that you planned out earlier. And SolidWorks will yell at you if you've done this incorrectly, so you can always go back and change it. So see, it's going to take this 2D shape that I made, and it's going to revolve it all the way around, or it's going to revolve it by a certain number of degrees that I specify. So see, I can cut a chunk out of it. Again, if you remember taking a calculus class that ever had you do revolving a shape around an axis of a graph, this is very much the same idea, except it's in 3 dimensions as opposed to 2 dimensions. And if you haven't seen that in calculus yet, well, hopefully this will give you a good idea of hopefully you'll remember this video when you take that class. So there's the shape. Okay, that's all for this video. I hope that was a useful reference tool. This Revolve tool is very useful for creating more cylindrical features. So if you have a part that has a lot of cylinders, circles, spheres, whatever, this is a good way to create those features in your part. So thanks for watching, and until next time.